Welcome back everyone to the Gregarious Technology YouTube channel. In this video, we will walk through creating a local admin user account via Intune and managing it with the LAPS policy in Intune. LAPS stands for Local Administrator Password Solution. It allows you to centrally manage local administrator passwords on Windows devices, Windows 10 Plus. You can store the passwords in Azure AD Intune via LAPS. You can also manage the expiration and rotation of those passwords. It's important to realize that LAPS on its own does not allow you to create these local admin users. You have to use something else to create those local admin users in Intune. The process involves two steps. The first step is to create the local admin account and password via a configuration policy in Intune, a configuration policy. The second step is to create and configure the LAPS policy in Intune. And at the end of this video, we'll walk through a demonstration, so be sure to stick around for that. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So as mentioned earlier, the first thing we have to do is create a policy in Intune, and this is going to be a custom policy, a CSP policy, for creating the local admin user before we create the LAPS policy. So we'll go to Devices, and then we will go to Windows, and then we will go to Configuration. We will go to Create a New Policy. And we will select Windows 10 or later. And we'll go to Templates. And we will choose from the templates Custom. And we will click on Create. We will give it a name. And click on Next. And you'll notice that in custom configuration policies, you're going to have to create OMA URI settings. And so we're actually going to create two different settings. One, to create that local administrator account and password, and one, to add that account to the local administrators group. So we will click on Add to first create the account and password. And you're going to see a whole bunch of settings that we need to set here. So we'll give it a name. Don't worry about the description unless you really want to. Here's the important part, the OMA URI settings. And here's what you need to type in to create the settings, the custom settings to create the account and password. So we're going to paste that in the settings. I know you can't see all of that, so I'm going to show you on the screen here what that is. The important part is that you enter the account into the account part of that string. And the actual account is shown in this part of the string. And then for the password, we're going to have to choose string, and we're going to have to put a password into that string for the local admin account. And that's what I'm using for demonstration purposes. Once we've entered the OMA URI correctly with the account that we want it to create on the local machines that we assign this to, and we enter the data type as the string and enter the password, we can click on Save. Now we need to add another OMA URI setting to add that account to the local administrators group on those computers. So we'll give it a name. And description, you can choose, again, whether you want to put that in or not. But here's the important part. The OMA URI declaration. So we're going to put that in. And it's shown on the screen here. And this one is going to be a data type of integer. And the value is going to be 2. It's important that in this OMA URI string that you include the same admin account that you created in the previous OMA URI settings string. And then we'll click on Save again. So we have 2 different settings in OMA URI. One to create the account and password, which we see right here. And one to add it to the local administrators group, which we see right here. And assuming we've done those correctly, we can click on Next, Next, and then add a group for assignment for target devices to assign that policy to. Select, Next, Next, and create. If all goes well, the devices that you have assigned it to in the group will receive that policy, and a local administrator account that you've specified will be created with a password that you've set in the configuration policy, and it will be added to the local administrators group. And so our next task is to create and configure the lapse policy. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so now on to the lapse policy. We're going to go to endpoint security. And underneath endpoint security, we're going to go to account protection. And then we're going to create a policy. We will select the platform, Windows, and we will select local admin password solution Windows Lapse. And we'll hit create. And we'll give it a name. Click on Next. And we'll have a few options. we definitely want to say back up the password to Azure AD only, so those passwords are backed up. We'll want to select whether we want to have that password expire by selecting not configured or configured. So if we select configured, we can put, I think the net maximum is 365 days. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that for my demonstration purposes. You absolutely have to click on administrator account name and enter the name of the account that we created earlier in this demonstration so that we can manage that account. And so if you have several admin accounts you created, well, then you're going to have to create a policy for each one of them. You can not configure or choose the password complexity. Mine, the default, my password fits the default, large letters, small letters, numbers, and special characters. So I'll go ahead and do that, even though I don't really need that. Password length, mine also fits the 14, but you can adjust that as needed. For post-authentication actions, you have several options: not configured, or reset the password upon expiry of the grace period, reset the password and log off the managed account upon expiry, reset the password and reboot upon expiry, or reset the password, log off the managed account, and terminate. If you hover over these, they give you more information that you can read. I'm going to not configure that for now. You can also set a post-authentication reset delay on the post-authentication actions. So you can say, and I think that's in hours. Yep, maximum allowed is 24 hours, so that, it gives a little bit of a delay on the post-authentication actions. I'm going to set that to not configured. And we're definitely going to want to set this to the target account will be automatically managed for that target account that we specified. Go down a little bit. We'll want that target account to be enabled. That's the whole idea of this. We've already configured that target account, so we'll leave it at, it will not use a random numeric suffix default. This next one is a little confusing. It appears that with Windows 11 24H2, you can actually use lapse to create a new account and manage it, but not previous versions. So that's a little contradictory, and I haven't tested that. So I'm going to leave this at not configured because I'm going to assume that not all my devices are 24H2. And I'm going to also not configure automatic account managed name or prefix. So leave comments below if you guys have tried to actually manage a new a custom administrator account and try to do this through lapse. Let me know. I have not tried that. And previous to 24H2, it does not work. And so if you click on learn more, we switch to that. It talks about that a little bit. Anyway, so we'll assume that not every machine is 24H2, so we'll leave it at that. Leave scope tags as they are. We will assign to the same group that we have created those administrator local user accounts on, and leave it at include. Click next and save. And we should be good to go. So the next portion of this walkthrough, this demonstration video, will be an actual demonstration. So let's jump into that and see what happens. One very important thing I forgot to mention is that you have to actually enable Lapse in Entra ID. So you have to go to Devices and Device Settings. So we're in Entra ID, we're in Devices and Device Settings, and underneath there you have to enable, say yes to enable Entra Local Administrator Password Solutions, otherwise Lapse won't work. So we have to do that and then click on Save. Just a few pointers on this procedure, especially with creating a local administrator account and the combination with Lapse. First, if you're going to use a custom configuration policy to create a local admin user, you need to realize that it has no other option than the default of the setting that the account is going to be required to reset the password at next login for that local admin account. If that's acceptable to you, then fine. The combination of a custom policy to create that local admin user and Lapse will work just fine. You can ignore the errors shown here. It does work fine. And here are the errors that you're going to see. So even though those errors show up, it actually does work. And if you're willing to accept the fact that with what we've shown in this video, with a combination of creating a custom CSP policy to create that user and Lapse, and the admin user has to reset the password in the next login, then everything so far is fine. If you're not okay with that local administrator user that you created through the custom policy having to reset their password in the next login, then you additionally have to deploy a PowerShell script to the same set of devices or group that you included those devices in, and assign so that the user account password, it will never expire, as shown here, this PowerShell script. But then the Lapse policy will still kick in and you'll be okay. Ultimately, you can just skip the whole custom policy to create the local admin account and just use a PowerShell script to begin with, as shown here. The choice is up to you. I'll leave this on the screen for a few seconds, but obviously you can pause the video and just record this script. To add and assign your scripts, you're going to go first to Devices, and then you're going to scroll down to Scripts and Remediations, and then you're going to go to Platform Scripts, and click on Add. Windows 10 and later. We'll give it a name. Click on Next. We're going to have to create that PS1 file from the script that I showed you, depending on which one you're using. We'll click to select a file. we are going to deselect run this script using the logged on credentials, because we want to run this as system whether the user is logged in or not. We're not going to enforce a signature check because it's not signed, so we'll say no, and then we'll run it in a 64-bit PowerShell host. We'll click next, and then we'll assign the group. Click next, and then we'll create. These are very important considerations for deployment, and you obviously want to test before rolling out to production. So now we can get on to the demos. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so let's take a look and see if that device I put into the group for assignment for the lapse policy actually stored the password in Azure AD/Entra ID/Intune. So we're going to go to Intune. We're going to go to Devices and click on Devices. We're going to go to Windows, and we're going to find the device in Windows that was part of that group that we assigned the policy to. We're going to click on that device, and we're going to go down to where it says local admin password. And we see that the local admin password was indeed recorded for that device. And if we click on that, it tells us that the account that it stored the password for is indeed the account that we intended, that we created in the policy to create that account. And we can either click on Show to show that password, or Copy to copy that password. So if we click on Show, it'll show the password. And if we click on Copy, it'll copy it to our clipboard. The one thing I will say is that I made a mistake in configuring the policy where it says password complexity. Not really a mistake, but just an advisement that if you do configure this, it will actually, even if your password that you set on the account already met those password complexity requirements, it will actually create a new password. So if you don't want it to change a password, set it to not configured. So just be aware of that. Even though your password you set on an account through a different policy when you created it met those password complexity requirements, if you set it to the password complexity requirements, it'll actually create a new password with those requirements. So be aware of that. Not a big deal because you can copy and show that password, but be aware of that. But it is recorded and it's available. And the lapse policy works. So that's good. If we take a look at the device itself that was targeted in both the policy for creating that local administrator account and lapse, and take a look at computer management, we're first going to see that account was created, and take a look at local administrators. That account is actually part of the local administrators group. So we know that the policy we created in Intune for creating the account and adding it to the local administrators group, all part of one policy with the two different custom configuration settings, the OMA URI settings worked. So we're good. Remember to always like, subscribe, and click on notifications for new content. And leave comments. It really does help the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that wraps it up.